Ladies and gentlemen of the Bird Herd, we are very blessed today. We're lucky to have a phenomenal guest, Mr. Nate Heward. Nate's been a high-performing rep at multiple different companies and throughout the industry. Some of his token accomplishments: first year as a rep, he sold nearly 300 accounts. Personally, the following year, he nearly had a $2 million downline of people that he's managed, recruited, and led. Not only that, apart from his business accolades, he's just a phenomenal friend, leader, and someone a lot of people look up to, and me being one of those. So today with Nate, we're going to cover a number of different topics, but just to kind of jump right into it, I think a lot of people would like to know a little bit more about you. Nate, could you just tell us where you're from, maybe where you went to school, and just some early life stuff?
Yeah, a little bit about my story. Grew up in Utah County, graduated in 2015, Timpanogos, served a mission.
Let's go T-Birds.
T-Wolves.
Oh, T-Wolves, my bad, dude. Oh, that's a big mistake, too. That's not a kind of oh, my bad.
Yeah, served a mission, was awesome, and then went straight to St. George, Dixie State, where I did my 4-year degree.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Did exercise science, played football, so I was able to walk on, play, throw on the helmet again, and
let's go
hit some guys.
What position did you play?
Safety.
So let's go.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
That's dude. That's a lot of running.
No, it was a lot of fun. And a little bit about my story. So Gage, my brother, had gotten into sales 2 or 3 years before. Around the time when I jumped in, but when I was going to college playing football, Gage every summer was hitting me up and trying to get me, to join him on the doors.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Were you hey, it was just, you said a couple years, so was it the summer sales thing feels kind of weird, or you were you apprehensive to it just because what made you, I guess, finally be oh, I'm gonna go do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the hesitancy, and then what tipped you over?
So I sat down with his regionals time after time, because my cousin was also selling with the same company. And for me, college football was always a dream to go play, the next level. And I didn't want to forfeit or spend time in the summer off of the field and training. That would put me maybe, in a spot I didn't want to be in, college playing football.
Right.
But because they never gave me the option, looking back, to do a June, part of July, or some kind of hybrid option where I could, work out in the mornings for longer and then maybe knock till 1 or 9. I wish they would have done something like that.
What was your schedule? So you would you go in what was a summer schedule? I didn't play college football, so I don't know. What would you do?
Yeah. Well, at the time we were D2, so honestly we didn't have to be down at campus. It wasn't required until August. But I stayed back home, right, and was training with buddies 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And then doing, working with my dad. But what got me over the hump is in 2019, I got pretty hurt our second week of games, where I tore all my ligaments in my ankle. And it was a 3-4 week recovery. Got back on the field, played special teams and everything. But that was kind of the turning point. I was 23, playing with these 18, 19-year-olds that were freaking phenomenal. I would put in 3-4 hours. They were running circles, so just to keep up. And so at that time, it was 2020. I told the coaches, man, I hang up the cleats. I was heartbroken, but at the same time, my brother was just buying houses, and I'm maybe, it's on God's time, really. Yeah. So, so me and my best friend, because I knew I needed something to push me to that next level in fitness, because I'm super passionate about fitness and nutrition stuff. So me and my best friend actually committed to do an Ironman.
Dude, let's go. And you guys did it.
I did it.
Dude, that's amazing. That's a dream of mine.
Yeah.
And where'd you guys do that?
We at St. George.
Oh, that's
But
so
because
sick.
of COVID, because COVID came in, hit in March. So it
No,
it
dude.
got canceled. So I actually ran it by myself. I did it by myself.
Oh.
I didn't do any like kind of sign up or whatever. I just ran, swam, and biked.
Dang it, Fauci.
Yeah. But it all worked out. It's crazy because the Lord's time, like with that timetable, and then I went out that summer and dominated.
Well,
So
I mean, most guys don't go into the first summer having on the coattails of like an Ironman, having like played 4 years of college football. So I mean, obviously you did a ton of hard stuff kind of going in to the summer. And so if you had to speak to somebody that's like, hey, like I've done a mission, and you did a mission before too, right?
Yeah, 2
Oh yeah. So you're like, you'd seen a lot of the world. And so you're like, that makes a lot of sense. But let's say people that have like done a lot of hard things and transitioned to that, like, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I knocked a mission and I did. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to get into that because I've learned a lot of like what that is. Do you still feel like even though you did an Ironman, you did like a mission, you like played college sports, do you still feel like, oh, I learned a lot that first summer about myself, about like sales that like really, really pushed you?
yeah, for sure. And my mindset was, hey, if my little brothers could do this, I can freaking do it. Because at the time, Gage was doing it, Jameis was doing it, even my sister came out that summer as well. So all 4 siblings, 4 of us 5, were all out there in Orlando throwing down deals. And I was 23, my sister was 17. And so there was nothing else. I had to perform and dominate. So
what was the family group chat like? Like, was it like, hey, coming for you suckers? Like me and my family, like we're willing to like tease and poke and be like, hey, like, are you guys like that? Or like the Hewards, like, is that how you guys like, do you guys, is competitive, I guess? Like,
yeah, well, at the time, I'm trying to think, Gage had already done like, he was at like 300-400 sales by the time I even got there because I had finished my semester. So he was leading the whole office, him and Caleb, and Jameis was also throwing down. And so I kind of started at the very bottom of our team, and there's like 35 reps in Orlando. So it's kind of cool to see like me continue to progress. But yeah, of course, you know, my mindset was, hey, if they're doing it, I could do it. I don't know if there's a lot of talking crap yet because I was still trying to figure out. Yeah.
Well, it's tough that first year. I feel like first year reps, it's typically by the end of the summer that they start being like, oh, I can beat you.
Yeah.
But like the first month or two, everyone's just like, can I survive?
Right.
Like, oh, well, cool. And so obviously your family's into sales. You probably heard about it your whole life. What's one thing that you're like, oh, like, my family, like, we're like, this is something that I didn't even realize that I learned kind of growing up. Like, I was taught this, like my mom and my dad, like without me even knowing it, they taught me a lot about sales through X or Y.
Yeah. So my dad's been in the sales world for 28 years, doing financial services, same company as in my let. So, looking back, yeah, he taught us, you know, talking to people, working hard, really those basic fundamentals of, we weren't given a lot of, we always, like growing up, we had to pay half for football, half for baseball, half for sports, half for our clothes, half for anything that we wanted. We had to like work for it. And even to this day, he says, I won't deprive you of that privilege of paying it for yourself.
Well, no, and I think a lot of times when you're young and you hear that, like someone's like, oh, you had to pay for your clothes, you had to pay for your sports. I think a lot of people see that, like, whoa, your dad's kind of like taking advantage of you. But I think in reality, what people don't see is like, no, he's just training you for what like real life is. Because one day, mom and dad aren't going to be there. And like, I think that's a huge like just accountability lesson, which sales is just so much that. It's, you got to go out, you got to work all day, things are on you. If you perform, that's when you get paid. And so I think there's a lot to learn there and a lot to grab of just being like, hey, like, it's kind of, if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Right. And I think something huge that I'm going to do, like for my kids, that they did really good on is they always push sports and being busy. You were either playing sports or you're working.
I love
because it. Like the idle time, the free time is where, like they told us, you know, that's where they've seen their friends kind of get into, you know, making decisions that they are going to regret in the future. And so sports was something I think I learned, you know, the competitive, working hard, you know, we're putting time in throwing the ball every day. My dad coached me in football and baseball, and we were after work every day, he was throwing the baseball, throwing the football, throwing routes every day. So we didn't have a lot of time to go, get into trouble. It kept us good.
And I think that's a good thing too for like the doors, like when you're out knocking. Like I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I can take a break, or I'm gonna take a little off, and then all of a sudden like they sell a lot less or perform a lot lower. What are some things that you've seen that like, what are some pitfalls you see a lot of reps fall into, that you're like, hey, if you can avoid these, you'll keep yourself far more productive throughout the summer?
Yeah. I have a huge I have a PowerPoint actually of the top rookie mistakes.
Dude, give me a copy. Yeah. We'll link it below. Now I'm teasing.
But I think like biggest things is when a rep starts not going through like keeping to the schedule, not having a morning routine, staying 20-30 minutes past the lunch time, knocking or going back into the car when it's raining. It's like a domino effect. Once those little things start sliding in the summer, it's really hard to get back to that groove of things. And so I think, just like cutting out the distractions, Snapchat, Instagram, and all those things.
Well, and sales is really a momentum game. Like I think more than anything, like if everyone on the team's motivated, everyone's pushing, like sales are going up on the leaderboard, all of a sudden it like snowballs. Because I think we've all been in the office when like, in any kind of office, when you're like, oh, I can feel it kind of like tumble down. And I think you've also felt it where like there's a huge snowball and we're going to get all the freaking neighbors on this. And so, I definitely, I like a lot of those, like cutting out like Snapchat, Instagram, things that you just don't really need to be doing during like the midday or mid hours.
And I think one thing that Gage, as well as Ola, he was one of my best friends, we led teams together. He would say, if you're in your head, you're dead. And so really self-talk. And if you find yourself like having that little person, talking to you, like destroying your momentum, your motivation, you're a loser, you got this, the whole neighborhood's against you. Like you just got to have different little things that triggers you to get out of that.
And his name was Ola.
Yeah.
Dude, shout out to Ola. I like that quote a lot. That's a good nugget. So if you're in your head, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's fire. I'm gonna write that one down. That's good. Okay, cool. No, and I think it's so true. A lot of times people don't understand that like your head game is like so much of the battle, especially because it's a performance-based job. In order for you to make any kind of compensation, you've got to perform well, and you need your mind. I think a lot of times too, reps get lazy throughout the summer, where they're not taking care of their bodies, they're not eating right, or they're not sleeping enough. That's a huge one that I see people make mistakes over and over again. So I think if you can get both of those right, and then also just manage your like personal relationships and stuff well, you sell at an exponentially higher rate when you can have those things in check. And that's not even something like, a lot of times we love to talk about like area management, sales psychology, your work ethic and how bad you want it. But I also think there is a level of that game, if you'd agree with me, that like, no, part of it's just making sure you're keeping care of like your mental and emotional health.
Yeah, of course.
So
there's a lot of things that I've learned, that I've adapted every year, that have really helped me kind of jump, as well as kept me in the space of dominating at a good level. That I obviously have lots of room to improve and high goals for this year, but making over 125, 150,000 the last 3-4 summers has put us in a really good spot.
Oh, it's amazing. And one thing I want to like point out, so like obviously you've improved every year, you've grown and stuff like that. How does someone that is 4 or 5 years in, like what are some things maybe you even saw last year that you're like, oh, I leapfrogged in these areas, and like I didn't, like a lot of times you go into your third, fourth, people get lazy. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can like really get better. I'll just try to do what I did last time. What are some things for you that you're like, oh no, even last year I learned this and this is how I grew?
Yeah, there's so many. There's a few. You just made me think of something. I think a huge thing that's helped me, and even my brothers, my family, like we preach goal setting, vision boards. Our wallpaper on all of our phones has our goals. Like if you looked at Gage's $1 million earner, all of the houses places we want to travel. So most importantly is having those goals set now, like 2, 3, 4 months before, vision board set where you're looking at it every single day and training the subconscious mind to paint those pictures to the point where you consciously think that's reality, so that in the summer it gives you strength to continue to press on when you have some special Karens or police call or dogs, they push you through those hard times. So that's one thing. Another thing that I did probably on my second or third summer, because on my first summer I felt there was times where I would let those kind of things kind of be like, Mom, like, what the freak am I doing out here? Like, on those harder days, and I had to get reminded of my whys. And so what I started doing, I think it was my second summer that really helped me, and I've been doing ever since, is having a whole packet, so probably 6 to 10 pages of it's like a wall. It's like my vision board in the car. So before the summer, I looked, if I was out for the summer for 72 knocking days or 90 knocking days, 3 or 4 or 5 months, whatever, I had 90, let's just say 72, because that's a 3-month summer. And I like the short and sweet, knock it out. But 72 pictures of every day that I was out there in the summer, that was going to that thing. So first day, like groceries for the whole year, gym membership for the whole year, dates for the whole year, Roth IRA, you know what I'm saying? Like real estate, traveling to Italy, our beach. We lived in Portugal for a whole month. We lived in Rome for a whole month. Like all those kind of things were on my vision board. So I was reminded, and every day in the car, I'd have like this 2-3 minute little ritual of, going through that page and visualizing how it's going to feel and kind of what I was working for that day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And if you're listening right now, pause it, replay that back. That's just such a good nugget. Understanding the importance of like having a long-term vision and having it be repeated back to you over and over and over again when you're in the fire, when you're in like the freaking furnace and things are getting hot, is so big, because it's going to steady your actions. And then you are going to get those results that like you desire. So I think that's huge. And so and I love the picture idea too. That's like a fun play on it to like really help you see it. Because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I wrote it down, or, oh, like I said it in the morning. But like, there's something about like my mind too, that I would be like, oh no, like I'm seeing images of like those things that I want to make sure I make this happen.
Yeah.
So I love that. I'm going to steal that one.
And then like after, like if it's raining or a hard day, you just got beat up in a neighborhood, you can go back to that and be like, dude, I'm on day 30. I've already earned this. And then looking at like day 40, 45, oh man, I get to get jet skis. We're going on a cruise. We're doing this. This year we're going to Paris and we're going to live in Greece. And like these kind of things that got me through those hard days to keep pushing forward. So that's another thing that I really loved this year as well. Time after time I had regionals tell me, because I was always like my first, second summer kind of solo, like I was leading teams, but at the same time I liked not having a car partner, like kind of dish it out to my other leaders and not worry about the rookies, so I could just focus on my sales. But this last year I experimented with it, and I was like, yeah, I'm full. I had to switch some things, so I'm listening to them, right? And so every day this last summer, I had a rookie or two in my car every single day. And what I found was, number one, I was able to build, like, my relationships with those guys are all like, we're best friends, like yes, almost brothers, where I felt like I could get that same kind of relationship doing what I was doing before. But they were all leaving, right? After the summers, whether they weren't getting paid or whatever, our relationship wasn't like as tight, even though I was still training, teaching them, like putting extra time. But this year, I had 1 or 2 guys in the car every day, and we were bouncing off ideas, mental toughness. Hey guys, this is what's working for me. This is how I would do this, this situation. And so number one, it helped me get out of my head. Number two, there wasn't time for me to call my wife or my mom, right, for advice or whatever. But number three, I was able to focus on them and help them hit their goals. And it not only helped me, but I was able to have 2 or 3 guys do over, 80, 90, even a kid did 150K, where in the past that wasn't really happening. Does that make sense?
100. That's golden again. And what I'd say about that is, if you're out in the summer and like staying close to the people that are going to help you stay close to your goal is so important. I've seen people make the mistake year over year where like they gravitate towards the people that don't want to work as hard, or they're like, like maybe I'll call home, or what's that girl doing like that, and I'm that like I met on a dating app once, and I think the people that can really be like, no, I'm going to stay around the people that are going to help me keep focused, that are like have my common vision. And if you kind of keep those people around, it's crazy what you can do. And so I just think there is a lot of power in being really, really close to those people that are keeping you close to your goals. Yeah. So I love that. And I also think as a leader, one thing that I've seen too, whenever I've made the decision, just be like, okay, I'm going to help these other people get better at this. I in turn just get so much better, just because like when you're focused on making sure that someone else is great, you have to be great. And I think that's part of like with parenting and stuff like that. Like sometimes you like know somebody in high school and it's like they're crazy or but then they get married and they have a kid and all of a sudden they like shape up and you're like, holy cow. And I think it's the same thing in sales. The moment you decide like, hey, I want to be a leader and I want to help people and I want to like provide a great experience, all of a sudden you become like such a better provider, such a better leader in person. So I think those are key nuggets that a lot of people need to hear. And if you're a leader, I think a lot of times first year leaders get in that mindset of like, how's this going to come back to financially benefit me or But I think what you're talking about here, like, it sounds like you did that for them. You're like, no, I want to make sure like that they're taken care of, that like this is a good experience. And when you switch that mindset of like, hey, I'm bringing people out to make money, whereas more of it's like, hey, I want to help people. And obviously like I'd like to be compensated after, but like when the first is in the forefront, I think the second takes care of itself, and it takes care of itself in a big way.
Right. And like looking back, it was my easiest summer I've ever done, because I was like way less, like what you're saying, less focused on myself.
Yes.
And it was giving to my guys, and I helped them have an amazing experience and help them hit their goals, and they felt that. And number two is I found like people were opening up to me now. Like in the past, they weren't like sharing, like it was a really cool, because most of those car rides are 20, 30, even 45 an hour to area. And so being able to see kind of, hey, what's going on? Like if there's anything going on in the office, any bad apples, you can catch pretty quick because you're gaining these guys' trust and really their eyes on the other guys, which really helps as well. So it's really interesting that it kind of, full circle.
Yes. No, and when you can't really outsource your influence, like at the end of the day, like you being there with those people, like it creates the relationships. And if you can, year over year, if you can create really, really healthy relationships with someone, all of a sudden it transitions pretty quickly in a year 2, year 3, and they're all bringing people, and it's a warmer environment where everyone's growing and succeeding. Yeah. So I love that. That's a really, really good nugget. Thanks for sharing that one, Nate.
Of course.
So funny stories. You ever have a time when you're like, oh, we were out knocking in the middle of summer, someone did something crazy, either like a rep or like a homeowner, anything like that?
There's a few stories. I can, those guys probably remember in my first summer in Orlando, I had a crazy experience. I don't know. It was hilarious because I just remember everyone dying. But I was just knocking on a normal day. I had like 5 or 6 sales. Like it was going a good day for a rookie.
Yeah.
And like there was this guy outside his house, like with a drinking, right? And he just like had his eyes on me as I was going through all the other neighbors. And as a rookie, I'd already had a few experiences that I was kind of like, just be weary.
So he's just eyeing you down with a beer in his hand.
Yep. And so I'm like, should I go over there or like should I skip it? Because like sometimes like, yeah, you never know what you're gonna run into, right?
What was the look he was giving you? Was it like was it was it like
No, he was staring me down like, okay. Hey, what's this guy up to? Like he wasn't knocked out yet, but he was on the brink because he does some. So anyway, so I decided I was like across the street and he like yells, "Hey, what are you doing? Come over here." I'm like, all right, here we go. So I go over there and I just say, hey, we're just helping everyone with their bugs. Like we're just helping out the neighbors. And obviously this was 3-4 years ago, but he pretty much hey, well, can I see your license? Can I see your your ID, all this stuff? I was like, yeah, it's right here. He's like, can I have it? Like, can I like look it up? I'm like, no, like, and I start backing up, and then he like starts like walking towards me. So I'm like, dude, like, we're just helping with the bugs. He's like, I'm gonna call the cops. Like, I just book it, man. And I was, I feel like I'm a quick guy, so I'm like, there's no way he's catching me. But so I like book it around the corner, and I hear like a car like just speed out of a driveway, like a huge truck, just like the tires spinning. I'm like, that's not good.
Dude, this homie's drunk and he's running, he's driving, and he's trying to hit you with stuff. Dude, like, that's a lot of coordination.
Man, and my heart was like,
I bet.
And it started raining, I remember. And I was just, another thing that I do is I pin my car where I park it. So in case something like this happens, because sometimes you can't find your car if you're working hard, right?
Right.
And so I remember like looking at my phone, but I hear this truck, like I'm going behind cars, like ducking around trees and stuff, like making sure, because he just zooms past, and I'm like, this is not good. So I look at my like location, so I start booking it to my car. And long story short, yeah, I get to my car and he sees me, so my car is here. I jump in my car. He pulls in front of me, so I'm like he's trying to trap me.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is crazy. What's gonna happen? And he gets out of his car, dude, pulls out just puts his hand like pulling for a gun or something. I'm like, no freaking way. So I back up and then freaking speed off. But I just remember my heart was going crazy. Went to Chick-fil-A parking lot, and that was that story, man. And I remember in the morning, I told the whole office, and they're like cracking up because I'm just a young rookie, my first month.
Yeah, no. Well, it's cool, like the vision you have looking back at it now, because like a lot of rookies, they go out their first summer, and it kind of like that would spook them. Like something like that would like really be like, oh, I don't know if I should be out doing this and stuff like that. But they miss all like the beautiful things that you see if you like shirk that opportunity because you heard one crazy story or one wild situation. And it's funny, like now, like me and you are sitting here, we're laughing about it because it's like, dude, that's just like a funny situation, what happened. But like someone like you that's like, hey, that probably spooked you a little bit.
Yeah.
But then like the next, like as you got going, you're like, oh no, there is a lot of like benefit to being here. This is like a good opportunity, and you win. So I think anyone that's listening that hears that, one, it's funny. Two, like keep calm. It's gonna keep going, and you're gonna have a lot more crazy stories, but you're also gonna have way more wins.
Yeah, and looking back, like nothing like that's ever like happened since. Obviously there's a lot of funny, other stories I could look at, but I think the biggest thing, like you're saying, is just keep going. And I think because you got to fail forward, right? You got to be like. And I think that's something my dad taught us as well. Nothing worth having comes easy, right? Mm-hmm. And failure is just a part of the process. And so like I got, in high school, I was cut from a baseball team, so I had to switch high schools so I could keep playing. I lots of injuries, right? Surgeries that have like put, ankle injuries, like so many little setbacks. But what I've learned, like with, God, putting your family, God first, trusting those around you, and just keep showing up every single day is the key to get to where you want to be.
100%.
And you can't let anybody behind those doors stop you from your goals and your dreams. And that's why I'm a huge, vision board goal setter, because it keeps that at the forefront,
Well, dude, I've loved it. I've learned a lot this podcast. I think like the vision board has been big for me. I really, really liked the point where you were talking about like driving out with your guys and making sure they're taken care of, just being in the thick of it with them. Mm-hmm. Kind of like just wrapping up, I think one thing that I would love to like hear from you, or just have a lot of guys here, what are some podcasts, books, things you're consuming or have consumed that have really taken you to the next level? You have anything that you're like, oh, I think this could help a lot of people on their journey and their next leg?
Yeah. I think a huge quote that's like always resonated with me is work harder on yourself than any job, right? And so the last 4 years, I've kept track of how many books, all the books that I've read. And I was trying to knock out, especially training for an Ironman. Like I was running 12, 15, 20 miles a day, you know, so I was on Audible at like 1.52 speed. So I got through the last 4 or 5 years, I've gone through like 200, 250 books.
It's crazy.
And so that's given me a lot of confidence in I guess, how the world works. Obviously there's a lot I'm still learning and everything, but just getting your guys' hands on some of those books, you know, because books, these are millionaires, you know, people who've done what we're thriving to do, and they write down their secrets, and as you implement those kind of things, you get those same successes. So I'd say the books, podcasts, right? Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Dean Graziosi, like those are some really sharp people. And then, have you heard of Savers before?
I haven't.
What?
No, I haven't heard of it.
So Savers, so this is something that I every day, like Savers saves you, right? So if I had a board, hopefully I remember. So Savers, S stands for silence. Okay, so every morning, meditation, visualization, right? Or praying, whatever. So silence. A stands for affirmations, right? So you should have your affirmations in the shower, in your car, incantations. You can tie that into like with music, whatever. But I am a champion. I'm a winner. I am a millionaire. Whatever it is, you got to have like start practicing your self-talk now, because on the doors, man,
people are gonna give you some different kind of talk. Yeah.
So S, A, and then V is visualize. Day, and then S is scribe. So just really daily habits that I make sure 20-30 minutes a day of just doing that in the morning, so I'm sharp, you know, the rest of the day.
Well, and with my morning routine and stuff like that, whenever I miss it, I can feel it the rest of the day. Like you feel like, holy cow, like if you forget to like have silence in that beginning part and like make sure you're like praying, you're in a good state, you're taking care of your body with like exercising and stuff like that. It's crazy how much lower you perform. So I think all of that is like really, really good. And I guess just in closing, is there anything else that you would like, if it was your first summer and you could go back and whisper something in your ear to like kind of wrap this whole thing up, what's one thing that you'd be like, hey, I wish I would have known this?
Back to my first summer. That's all worth it. I think, trying to think, just trusting the process, right? Life's, you know, going on to my 5th summer. It's incredible. I never thought I'd be this close to, you know, the lifestyle that I've always wanted to live, and it with 4 summers of just grind and you know, stuck to the vision, it can become a reality. So first summer, just work hard, play hard, you know. 3-4 months it does end, right? Yes. And looking back, that drive home is awesome. Cloud 9 when you made 30-40, my first summer $47,000 and we were on cloud 9. You know, my dad and I were gonna go buy a property in St. George, and it just started snowballing, and I think a big thing was it blessed my life so much that I was so excited to go share it with my friends, my cousins, my missionary buddies, everybody on my team, on the football team, everybody in Dixie State heard, you know, what I was doing, and it's been cool to see some of their guys', you know, their lives change. The guys I met at the gym, you know, there's a few still doing it, and they're getting into their 2nd, 3rd properties and getting married and having kids, and it's pretty cool to be, you know, part of something that I can truly change, you know, these guys' lives.
And I think that just encapsulates the whole experience right there. Like growing yourself, helping other people like to create their story, and then just at like the end of the day, just working hard and living a fun life. That's what you want to do. And I just think this opportunity is available to everyone out there. And obviously, it's blessed you're in my life, and I hope a ton of people keep catching the vision. So,
Thanks,
Nate, thanks for being on, brother. Really good talking with you. And that's a wrap. That's Bird Nation, baby.